This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Do you play FanDuel and feel like you aren't creating consistent money-making lineups? Go over to the DFS Doctors on Twitter at the DFS Doctors and DM them with promo code Detroit Sports to get a free trial for their analytically formulated 70% lifetime profit rate NFL and NBA lineups. The whole purpose of playing daily fantasy sports is to get out there and compete and give yourself a chance to win. So go over to the DFS Doctors. Let them help you. They have analysts on staff that look at the best optimal lineup that you can put out there to win money. So why not take advantage? At the DFS Doctors, promo code Detroit Sports.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code Detroit to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane. Welcome in, everybody, to the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 118. We're going to do things a little bit different today, and I'll get to that in a few moments here. But just to give you a quick little recap on what we're going to cover, Shane McMahon is where? Side of a milk carton, for sure. Vince McMahon is going to lose how much with the XFL? We've got those figures, as well as discussing what's going on with Bret the Hitman Hart. Things are going to be a little bit different today. Both John and I have had a death in our family, so we're going to record this one just a little bit early, so we don't have the NXT results and we don't have the AEW results. So what we're going to do is take a look at some of the biggest topics in wrestling and some of the trends that are going on and discuss what we'd like to see and how things could be made better. So let me bring him to the main stage now. He goes by Cinnamon if you're going down to Centerfolds. He also covers himself in a little bit of glitter, and he's extra cute, wears a long robe. He is the one. He's the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
You think you know me?
I just want you to know that was a great open for the way I set you up, and I didn't even know you were going to play that.
Exactly. I think people like me coming into my own music, so you got to have your own. Just one time. I think that is probably my last fantasy, is one day where they just, maybe if I save up enough money, I think you can do it for like $3-4 grand where you can walk down to the ring to some music and shit like that. Just one time be like, now coming down, John Macaroon, hailing from Dearborn, Michigan, or, or make up some town, or from Macomb, Michigan. Dude, it's great. Dude, I've been blasting that shit in my house, and the kids are like, what is this? Edge, MVP, Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens. Dude, wrestling music is the shit.
Wrestling music's great. Do you remember when WWE used to put out like their whole CDs? They used to put out like everybody's songs. It was great. But that was because they had they basically made all the profit off that because they had their own in-house recording artist. They ended up firing him for the dudes who put Nakamura's music together. that seemed to blow up in their face.
What's your favorite entrance music? The best that you ever heard that when you hear it, you just freak out every single time. I've been liking Randy Orton. I love the NWO, AJ Styles, Hulk Hogan's.
Hulk Hogan's is great.
Hulk Hogan's Real American and Voodoo Child. Awesome.
I think for me, it would probably be Stone Cold's, and I think The Rock's.
Which one's better? One. You get to pick one.
Oh, I get to pick one. Probably Stone Cold's. I think Stone Cold's.
Hell yeah. Who wouldn't pick Stone Cold? When that shit breaks, hell yeah. Get your amp.
It's just an ass whipping's coming.
Exactly. Man, Raw, quickly, did you hear about the weather situation that happened at Raw? They were in Salt Lake City, Utah, and there was some inclement weather. So there was maybe like a 10% chance that they might have had to do a recap show or not air it because of the weather and stuff like that. But it passed. The wrestlers made it. The crowd made it. And it made for a decent Raw. I think the best part of Raw was Randy Orton and the way they just set it up, where not a lot of words. I don't know why I did it. And he is the predominant now heel in WWE. And
Isn't it amazing?
Great storytelling, and people are now emotionally invested. The heel, Randy Orton, and the face, Edge. It's something that's awesome to see now in terms of when you do storytelling correct, that's what happens.
And, with this storyline, I think WWE's doing a great job with it. I mean, they really sold Edge having another concussion. They really sold him having to go to a quote-unquote medical facility. They've done a really, really good job with their social media. And we talk about social media and wrestling all the time and how we don't really like it. If it's used correctly, it's fantastic. And I think they're doing a really good job with it in this storyline. And Randy Orton basically coming out and being like, I just did it. I love it.
One of the big takeaways that we saw was, and I think some people had critiqued it online and via Flick, our great group chat application where we talk wrestling, they kind of said that for Rhea Ripley to debut on Raw in a crowd that wasn't really an NXT crowd, they kind of were a little bit slow to react to her coming out, and it was a little bit unusual. So some people felt like, if you're going to have Rhea Ripley challenge Charlotte, why not have her in a town like Florida or somewhere that's a little bit more pro NXT? Because her debut there on Raw was a little bit flat, and people were like, but then once people recognized who she was, the crowd kind of got into it a little bit more. But for me, I'm not really down for Charlotte Flair taking on Rhea Ripley for the NXT title. So obviously, we're recording this on Wednesday. The belief is going to be that on Wednesday's NXT, Charlotte's going to show up and, continue this feud. For me, yes, Rhea Ripley is great. I think both you and I are very high on her. I just don't think Charlotte Flair is the next feud for her right now. I know it's hot. I know you can build it for WrestleMania, and it's a marquee matchup. Just too soon in my mind.
I find it weird that Charlotte... And again, NXT is an extremely popular brand. You can make the argument that it's better than both the red and the blue brand. But still, I think in everybody's mind, they do realize that that's the starter program. That's the one where you go to kind of earn your stripes. And whether the programming is better, whether the storytelling is better, whether the in-ring action is better, I think still there is a stigma that it is still second to both Raw and SmackDown. And whether Raw or SmackDown's number one, NXT is still behind those two brands. So for me, it's weird that Charlotte would take this match, right? Like, why would you go fight for the NXT title when you can fight for either the Raw or the SmackDown title? It doesn't necessarily make sense. Now, the way things seem to be kind of laying out, it appears that Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch, like we talked about last week, looks like that's going to be a very real thing for WrestleMania. As far as Bayley goes in her title belt, I don't know who Bayley takes on. It seemed natural for me for Charlotte to challenge Bayley. All that being said, WWE does a good job of trying to keep couples together, and Andrade and Charlotte are engaged, and both are predominantly Raw superstars because of being together. So how she would transition over to SmackDown, I don't know how that would work out, but for me, the issue here is Rhea Ripley's a badass. I think she's fantastic. I think she can hold her own against the likes of Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, the best that both the red and the blue brands have to offer. I think she's fantastic. She's outstanding. But I just don't see the benefit for Charlotte to take this match. Like you have to make me believe that Charlotte wants this match. So whether that be, Rhea attacking her, so it provokes Charlotte, or somehow getting underneath Charlotte's skin enough to where Charlotte takes the match. Like, you've got to give me something. And just having Rhea challenge her, what the hell is that got to do? Like, I don't need to succumb to your level. I'm above you. Do you know what I'm saying? That's kind of how I look at it. I don't know how this plays out. And I think I'm in lockstep with you here, where is it beneficial for Charlotte? Does it do a good job for Charlotte to take this match? Does it move any storyline along? How does this help anybody in NXT? Like, I just have questions here. Like, you couldn't put this match together with anybody else from NXT. There's a ton of great women in NXT. You could bring somebody over from NXT UK and challenge. Like, there's a ton that you could do to highlight other wrestlers, but you're going to highlight Charlotte Flair for this match? It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know.
The most predominant angle that was featured on Raw, outside of Edge and Randy Orton, involved who's the number one contender for the WWE title. Mm-hmm. And it was, I believe, Ricochet. Taking on Seth Rollins. Mm-hmm. And who was the third in that match? We'll look that up. But eventually, you figured out, wow, Ricochet is the one that comes across as the number one contender to face Brock Lesnar. And I looked at that and I said, am I invested in that either? No, because it's not believable.
Yes.
It's not believable to me that Ricochet could walk away with the champion, especially knowing that Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar are going to be, headlining WrestleMania. So it doesn't make any sense to me for Ricochet, and it kind of cheapens his first go-around at it, his first opportunity. Doesn't it make sense? Like, how is... he's worthy, but...
basically he's a placeholder.
Yeah,
which
you don't want to see. Yeah, for him, like, okay, you get to be featured by being in the ring with Brock Lesnar, having a storyline. But I understand you also have to have storylines heading into WrestleMania. But I just think for Ricochet, it's great. It's a great opportunity, but
Bobby
it just feels
Lashley,
cheap.
Sorry,
Bobby Lashley.
That's what
that doesn't count either.
Right.
We could just say
that's how memorable it was.
Exactly. Ricochet wins the match. Good match. Good main event on Raw. But for me, thumbs down on that angle as well. I don't see it. I
don't either. Again, you don't. I don't think you necessarily do your competitor any favors when we all know what's going to happen. We all know it's Drew McIntyre at the end of all this. So why don't we just have a prolonged feud?
Exactly.
Because what, WrestleMania is going to take place in April. Let's have a 2-month build. Have these guys kind of jockey back and forth. Brock Lesnar is there only half the time. Drew McIntyre can basically be there half the time. Let him wrestle a couple guys now and again just to knock the rust off. And every time he beats a competitor, let him throw that challenge down to Brock Lesnar. You can intertwine different storylines and set things up. There's nothing that is said that you can't have multiple storylines going at once, right? So you have, and this is how I would book it, right? I would do a prolonged build for WrestleMania. This would be my headline match for WrestleMania. If everything works out right, nothing gets way too hot. This is where I'd be going. This is what the initial plan would be. But it would be Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar, and it would be a 2-month build or 2.5-month build. And essentially, Brock is there part of the time. He's hardly ever there, and he hardly ever wrestles anyways. So I would have Paul Heyman come out every now and then just to remind us that Brock Lesnar still exists and dust the mothballs off of him and, let him walk to the ring for his ring entrance. And I would have Drew McIntyre basically out there every other week, essentially calling Brock Lesnar out, and almost make it seem like Brock Lesnar's ducking him, so that Drew's going to be at this place at this time. Brock Lesnar never shows up. Brock Lesnar's the champion. He doesn't necessarily have to fight, right? So it's okay if he not necessarily run scared, but doesn't have to necessarily fight Drew McIntyre. And Brock could be a little bit shook up because Drew was the one who booted him from the Royal Rumble. So there could be some apprehension there from Brock. And I think what you do is Brock Lesnar is a massive superstar. John Cena just came out and basically said Brock Lesnar is the best in the business. You, I believe, feel very similar because you feel like he's the main draw for WWE.
He's the main guy that can get other wrestlers over.
Exactly. So that's what you're going to do here with Drew. You're going to help build Drew McIntyre up because it seems like Brock is ducking Drew. So now the legend of Drew McIntyre starts to build. He's the one guy who threw Brock Lesnar out of the ring at the Royal Rumble by himself. He is now in Brock Lesnar's head. He's challenging Brock Lesnar every single week. And in the meantime, he can kind of knock the ring rust off and wrestle a couple guys here and there. But at the end of every match, he essentially is calling Brock Lesnar out saying, this is what's going to happen to you, and I'm going to take your belt. And I think it makes for a much more interesting build. And on top of it, you essentially have two guys walking this gray line where are they face or are they heel, right? So going into this, Drew McIntyre is the face. Brock Lesnar is the heel. But Drew McIntyre is so adamant at getting at Brock Lesnar that he is now taking it out on every other competitor that he comes against, and he keeps calling him out and telling him what he's going to do to him. At the same time, Brock gets a little sympathy because maybe Drew's in his head a little bit. He's running a little bit scared. And it's a very heel tactic to run scared. So you both are kind of walking this gray line. I think gray characters are always the most interesting because you're not really sure. So I just think you could build this and you could sell this for the course of 2 months where you're not going to put a guy like Ricochet essentially in harm's way and take him and just utilize him as a placeholder. It's not believable. We know that Ricochet's not winning this title from Brock Lesnar. We just know.
Exactly.
We know what's going to happen in 2 months, 2.5 months.
Is it one of those situations where Ricochet gets elevated by putting on a good 10, 12 minutes where he gets a lot of offense in and he keeps getting up? Kind of that mentality of like, you elevate him by being a guy that doesn't give up?
I guess, but
not original.
Right. And what does this really do? Like, okay, cool. So you were able to last 10 minutes with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Big whoop.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. Like nobody's buying into it. Nobody's going to believe it. So why waste your time? And that's the one thing I think that both of us really long for with WWE and with AEW. We want good storytelling. We want you to get us invested. We want to find, like when Hulk Hogan comes out and he comes out to Real American, or when Hulk Hogan comes out in his NWO gear, it elicits very different emotions. Do you know what I'm saying? The Hulk Hogan in red and yellow with Hulkamania, like it reminds you of your childhood and you're ecstatic. Hulk Hogan in NWO gear makes you excited, but you kind of don't like that guy because the NWO were like the heel faction of all heel factions. So you don't get that type of emotion, but that was good storytelling for both these guys or for both these characters of Hulk Hogan's for long periods of time. And you just don't get that with WWE anymore. And I think AEW does a little bit better of a job doing it. But again, AEW's in its infancy as we're kind of building this new brand out. So it's just weird, man. It's really, really, really weird. And I think that this kind of segues a little bit into something I want to talk to you about with MJF. So talking about like weird storylines that continue to build for long periods of time, and you kind of have gray characters. I do want to give credit to where credit's due here. And I got this from Bleacher Report. Mm-hmm. They wrote a really long article. And I didn't read the whole thing. I just kind of skimmed through it. But essentially, the question that was proposed is, what if MJF turns out to be the face in the Cody MJF feud? And Cody is the real heel here. I find that to be so interesting because MJF's whole thing is...
They're saying that the turn should happen prior to the match? I think it could happen after the match.
It'll probably happen during the match.
Okay. So you're saying during the match, that as the match takes place, Cody Rhodes shifts and MJF becomes more of the face character, and as it evolves, you make him more of a sympathetic figure.
Yeah, and Cody becomes the heel. But you have to realize that MJF is essentially putting Cody through hell right now to get to a match with him. I mean, this upcoming Wednesday, he's supposed to get lashed 10 times with a whip. So
I think more money comes into the company with MJF as a heel.
Mm-hmm. I think he's a great heel.
Yeah, I think that you could have so many great feuds going forward with some faces that you develop.
But remember, WWE hit their pinnacle and their zenith with a heel, Stone Cold Steve Austin, turning face, and a face, Bret Hart, turning heel.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I said, I don't know if you get that same effect.
It doesn't
here.
apply. Yeah, I don't think it applies.
I don't know if you get the same effect here, but again, interesting storytelling, because at this point everybody hates MJF.
Yeah.
He's like the baddest. We talk about it all the time. He's the baddest heel in AEW. He is like the quintessential bad guy, and it's great, and we love it. But what if in the end he was really the good guy the whole time? It makes you think. It's just storytelling. It's all this is. It's all wrestling is storytelling with action. You know, it's like going to a movie, but your movie's basically 15 minutes long. And it's interesting. I think it's an interesting plot point. You just kind of think about it, let that kind of ruminate, and kind of swirl around in your brain a little bit.
It does. I mean, I don't see it happening. I think the potential of it, maybe down the road in a year or two, maybe. But I don't think just yet, because in that match, you want to see the payoff for all the crap that Cody took.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how in the heel face situation, for those that are definitely into the old school storytelling, the face eventually has to, take on the heel and get back over. And I think in this situation, just because of the fact that MJF is the heel, that maybe the first go-around, the first match doesn't end in a clear victory, that MJF cheats. He does something to end the match via disqualification, does something there, and then you prolong this, because this doesn't appear to be a one-off situation.
No,
this
it
appears
doesn't.
you can play this out for multiple pay-per-views, maybe even culminating in December.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things where I don't see that happening. And I see the potential, but not now.
On top of it, what I like is it pulls him out of title contention, right? He's not in line, and nobody's really even talking about him challenging Chris Jericho for the title. You got Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho building towards their match here, but nowhere is Cody Rhodes in the background of this, which is nice, because going back to NWO Hulk Hogan, whether Hulk Hogan was involved in the championship match or not, he was always in the shadow, basically lurking, and you were always waiting for him to come take the belt because of the control he had in the company. You don't feel like that with Cody. Like, it's not even a thought here. Like, what's going on is it's Chris Jericho, it's Jon Moxley, they're going to battle. Don't know what's going to happen after that, but Cody Rhodes, like we're just talking about this, like, let's build this out to December. Cody Rhodes is tied up with another feud. You don't feel like he's going to be the guy who's going to come in and swoop that title up, which is fantastic. It's good.
Now, because here's the thing, and we're looking at heels and faces, and one we're going to talk about too is AJ Styles, because he's going to come back soon from a shoulder separation, and we're going to talk about as well what AEW and WWE can do differently and better. And it's fascinating too, because you got this character in AJ Styles, and he comes off this great face run. He's a champion for almost a year. People are definitely excited to see him around, and then obviously he is negotiating a new contract, and he wants more for his boys. And for whatever reason, the OC and the name just didn't hit, okay? It wasn't what you and I envisioned.
No.
I think it's been a massive flop.
Yeah.
And it's disappointing, too, because you're starting to see that the stuff that we wanted to see, whether it be the old Bullet Club or Matt Hardy's deleted, broken character, has been disastrous. And so, you now see Seth Rollins forming a group, and it's okay, but it just doesn't feel like it's there. It's not right. And something's wrong. And I don't understand why with AJ Styles, when you made him this heel, that it's come across as okay, but it just hasn't lived up to the mark. And I'm not sure why. And so I think you and I have been wondering what's next for AJ Styles, because he's right there among the elite. He's a guy that, yes, should be in the main event picture, can have great matches with anybody, but what's the best way to use a guy like AJ Styles now that he's coming back? Obviously, it's got to be with the club, and you gave him like a month run where they all had the titles, but I'm not so certain what's next. Like, who's the biggest face that they can attack? Is going to be Edge, but now he's mired in a feud with Randy Orton. So who's the next big guy, the next major face that needs to be developed? You already did it with Ricochet. You've already done it with several others. So now you've kind of put AJ Styles in a tough spot where when he comes back, what's he going to get into? It's tough because, this is a main event guy. This is a champion guy. It's not believable with Brock Lesnar. Is it believable? Maybe shift him over to SmackDown, and maybe with Bray Wyatt? I don't see that yet. I don't see that making a good mesh just yet. Is it maybe, you know what? It's got to be Daniel Bryan. You got to come over there No?
Nope. They've already teased it. They've
Okay.
teased it once, and this is what it is. And whether these guys come up or those guys go down, it's Adam Cole and Undisputed Era.
Okay.
Is what it is. So what has to happen?
So then we got to have a more clear face turn for the Undisputed Era.
Right. And what you need to do is you need to bring Finn Balor over.
Yeah.
So Finn, AJ, and you've got the Good Brothers versus
That's how you reinvigorate it.
Yes. Think about how awesome that would be.
Yeah, but see, I got a feling it wouldn't pop off right.
Why?
Because of the fact that, okay, you're going to damage then the brand of the Undisputed Era. You're going to have them lose.
No, you just build an epic story. And look,
SummerSlam.
At some point, one squad has to win, right?
It has to be the squad led by Finn Balor.
Why would it have to be?
Well, see, that's the thing. The whole point is that the OC, as it's called now, hasn't delivered because of the fact they've been like 50-50 booking. Win some feuds, lose some feuds. They had a nice run with the titles, but they're not the clear baddest group where they come out and everything is chaos. So you're going to then have them, reunite with Finn Balor, which should make them very popular, but you want them to be the face. Well, whether they're the face or the heels, you want them then to come away from this feud not winning. That'd be really tough to buy.
What I want is, and look, you had this with, we always go back to the NWO, because I think for both of us, NWO was probably the greatest faction we've ever witnessed. NWO didn't win all their matches. And I know what you're saying, because you want to elevate them. You want them to feel like they have some prestige. You want them to feel like they made it. But what you can do is you can tell a story, and you can build a story with them just essentially causing utter chaos. And you can kind of do it where the OC is kind of lurking in the shadows and just kind of messing with Undisputed Era. What ends up happening is this culminates with a massive match, and what happens is essentially everybody is beat up in the ring, right? And you have either Finn Balor or you have AJ Styles versus Adam Cole, we'll say, and basically they just bludgeon each other until they both essentially pass out, and then you kind of get this, DQ, this no.
You excited to see that?
I mean, I think it could be interesting because you're talking about trying to add something to a group that is basically flat.
If it's not the factions, I know they've teased it. I'd like to see AJ Styles, Adam Cole. That's not bad.
That'd be a good match.
That'd be very good. I'd definitely like to see AJ Styles and Edge. That'd be great too.
Oh, AJ Styles, Edge. Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Man, I would love to that somehow or another, if AJ Styles makes his way to NXT, you then reintroduce maybe the tease of all time where Shawn Michaels comes out and handles his business and maybe gets involved. If AJ Styles is working Adam Cole and the next person to come out is Shawn Michaels, and maybe, just maybe, we get that one off in Saudi or something. AJ Styles, Shawn Michaels.
Dude, that match was talked about, what, last year? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh,
that'd be great, huh?
That'd be fantastic.
One off 10-minute match.
Yeah.
Just get him in the ring. All right.
I need Shawn Michaels to be there for it.
Exactly. Be there. All right. Before we get to this week's news and notes, which I think are very interesting this week, what can we do in the coming months to improve the two big brands, WWE and AEW? I think WWE has turned the corner and is telling better stories, but the mid-card is really stuck, where you got matches on Raw where Asuka beats Natalya. You get the women that kind of, I'm not down with, this whole Riot Squad, and I'm not down with what's going on with the women. Not down with it too much at all on any level. Same with the women in AEW. So for me, what they can do better is repackage the women and make them more predominant in the storylines. That's my situation now, because the men, you kind of know who's going to get over and who's going to get pushed, and you can kind of pick and choose your favorite wrestlers. But in terms of what's fallen now in the women's revolution and things like that, the women are not, there's not really a feud that you're really caring about. And I don't think you need Ronda Rousey to infuse that. Both brands got to repackage the women. And I know that Rhea Ripley and what's going on with Bianca Belair, you're starting to see new stars develop, but they're not there. They're on the cusp. They got to infuse some great storytelling, some more great matches across both brands. And that's my vote for what they can do better in 2020.
Yeah, I like where you're at with that. I think that's a really good idea. I mean, I think we forget that
the man cooled off. How do you cool off the man?
Well, that's WWE's.
How the hell do you do that? She's got to be involved. She's got to be in the mix. She's got to be causing havoc. She's got to be doing some backstage stuff. Get in the announce table. Do some more creative stuff. It's like she's just out there and it's like, I'm the man. I'm the best. It's like, okay, and then I have a match and I win. It's like, that's played out now. You can't run with that for, there's only so many Stone Colds and Rocks where you can tour off of the glass breaking and 2 fingers in the air for 5 years.
Yeah.
It got stale.
Yeah.
It sucks to say, but the man is stale.
I think that WWE cooled her out, though. I don't think that was necessarily her so much. I think it was the booking, and I think it was the way she was presented. But I'm right there with you. I mean, we forget that WWE has a women's tag team championship, and we haven't seen any women tag team wrestling. There's a fantastic way you can repackage them. Do you know what I'm saying? Give us good matches. And I know not all the women wrestle fantastically, but look, you see it with the guys, especially in tag matches. Usually the big lumbering guys who are essentially the power usually get to wrestle with somebody who's a little bit smaller, a little bit quicker, and who's a little bit more agile and can actually sell the stuff in the ring. So
is it time, if we want to infuse and play writer, Is it time? Bring together the 4 horsewomen. They run roughshod over the women's division, and maybe even towards the end of the year, creep into destroying the men. The 4 horsewomen: Charlotte, the Man, Sasha Banks, and Bayley.
Yeah, and you think about it, right?
You could have the baddest group of all time.
Let's roll
and
with
a
this
true
for a
women's NWO.
Let's roll with this for a second. So if Charlotte beats Rhea Ripley for the title, you now have 3 of them with all the titles.
There you go. They got to reunite. It's time. It's time, right? Why
That's
not?
interesting.
They run roughshod. You got Carmella. And actually, you know what? I would take it. You just badass music. You don't call it the horsewoman. You just call it whatever faction you want. These women come out. Wouldn't you mind seeing Sasha Banks throw Mandy Rose into a trailer?
It'd be fantastic.
Just a women's NWO.
Yeah.
For 2 months,
It'd be great.
where they just come out, where women will be doing promos. It's like they're trying to get their stuff off, and all of a sudden you hear the music, and these women just disrupt everything.
Yeah.
It's time. It's time for the
I'd even like to see them have a can of pink spray paint.
Yeah,
I don't even
pink
care.
spray paint. Yes, exactly. 4. You can just put 4. Whatever you want. It's time. It's time to let the women's, the 4 best women reunite and get together and run roughshod for a year.
I think it'd be great.
Wouldn't it make money? I'd actually pay to see that. Like, they just tour around wreaking havoc for 1 year, and you just destroy everybody, and then you have the next woman that you decide, whether it be Bianca Belair or who's the next person that you need to emerge, takes the title in a year. The next person that you want to get over and develop in NXT, or maybe it's Ronda Rousey. In a year from now, that they run roughshod and they just keep destroying things, and maybe the women's faction grows to 6-7 people, and then Ronda Rousey comes in and destroys them all. Something, I think that'd be fresh.
That would be sweet.
It'd be sweet.
I think it'd be good.
All right.
I do. I think both AEW and WWE need to figure out a way to boost their mid card.
Yeah.
Whether it's developing more stars or giving these guys more time to run. Really and truly, bolstering your mid card helps everybody and everything out. It really does. You now have guys that you can kind of lean on, guys that you can pull from. And then you find that you have stars you can actually develop. Like, has anybody seen EC3?
Yeah.
Is he even alive? Like, honestly, like
I haven't even thought of that name in months.
It's like the most disastrous run in WWE history.
Of all times. Yeah, he's probably on his way out.
He's got to be. Like, go
3 years?
Go to AEW, bro, and do something. Like, show everybody that you are the star that I say you are.
Yes.
Because everybody makes fun of me right now.
EC3's a star. Okay. Baddest take of 2019. EC3's a star.
He is.
Star of the jobbers.
He is right now.
The jobbers are like, don't
Look,
put him
man,
in our class.
When he was in Impact, he was fantastic.
Right.
The guy's got a great look. He's fantastic on a microphone, and he's not bad in the ring. Yeah. I mean, look, you sold John Cena, right? You sold John Cena. You sold John Cena enough to where John Cena wants to be the next Rock.
Exactly.
You essentially had the next John Cena. A little bit better of a moveset. The guy's magic on a microphone. He's got a solid look. What are you doing? What are you doing? The problem is he isn't 6'5". That's what the problem is. He's like 5'9", maybe 6 foot. I don't know.
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What you got?
So Tom Phillips is replacing Vic Joseph on commentary for the Raw brand going forward. Also, WWE Hall of Famer Bret the Hitman Hart announced last Thursday that he was diagnosed with skin cancer. Basal cell carcinoma is among the most common types of skin cancer and is rarely life-threatening. That's per WebMD. So it looks like Bret will be okay. According to Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer Radio, Vince McMahon is expected to lose, get this, nearly $400 million by bringing the XFL back. Meltzer noted that Vince is actually aware of just how much money he's going to lose, but has a plan regarding how to make it all back. According to Dave Meltzer, this is his quote, the way it's structured is that Vince is probably going to lose $375 million on this league, and he knows that he's going to do, and at the end of those, dude, he speaks so weirdly.
Yeah.
And that, let me start this over, because this is Dave Meltzer speaking. He talks in circles. The way it's structured is that Vince is probably going to lose $375 million on this league, and he will. And at the end of those 3 years, the idea is he'll be able to get television deals that will total $125 million a year, which will cover his losses, and then he's okay. There's a lot of factors involved in that. Again, the ratings are one of them. If these stations feel it's valuable to pay that much, it's not as long of a shot as everyone thinks. damn it, Dave Meltzer.
No, you know what's
need
funny?
to speak better.
As a writer, yes. Now that I'm writing on a website and you try to transcribe someone's quotes, is what they do is they speak in run-on sentences,
Yes.
and you're tasked with putting a comma, period, and Matt Patricia just runs on and on and on. And sometimes you're putting periods, dashes, and you're like, is there a program that you could just take audio real fast and just transcribe it to words quickly? No, you got to end up listening to it, going back, and it's like, transcribing quotes is a nightmare.
It's a
and
pain
so
in the ass.
to do that for Dave Meltzer, good luck, bro.
Yeah. If you ever listen to him talk, he kind of talks in circles. Like, it's weird.
Check out Brett's Instagram. You see a photo of it, of the work that they did on the shoulder. Yeah,
it's not good.
No, it looks like cancer, but it's a small amount. Little stitch, I think you see.
Ryback is begging for his name back by tweeting at Vince and Triple H.
Wait, Ryback doesn't own his name?
Nope.
Oh, WWE slick. They trademarked Ryback.
So he's asking, and this is his tweet, publicly asking at WWE, at Vince McMahon, at Triple H to let Ryback trademark go. It wasn't created by them, and trying to make someone spend nearly $200,000 to keep their legal name and brand is petty and unnecessary. Please move on and erase me from your history and programming. He stated last September that he owns the trademark for Feed Me More and The Big Guy, but was waiting for WWE's trademark of Ryback to expire. However, the company refiled for it on the last possible day, forcing him to have it canceled if he wants it for himself. So this is what he ended up going on and saying back in September. They refiled for the trademark on the last day of the deadline. So now what I have to do is I have to cancel the trademark and spend upwards of 40 to 60 grand in attorney fees to fight this, to make sure that I get that. And it'll take anywhere between a year and a year and a half from once we file to cancel their trademark.
Wait, his name is Ryback? Is his last name Ryback?
He changed it.
He changed his name to Ryback?
Changed his name to Ryback, yeah. Changed it. His name was Ryan.
Yeah.
He changed it, his legal name to Ryback.
Oh, so yeah. In essence, it's a money grab, and WWE was just going to fight it down because of the fact that they can still make money off the big guy and off of Feed Me More and the likeness and all that, and the stuff that they can put on the network and stuff like that.
Yep.
Man. You believe that? Well, that's smart, actually, for Ryback to change his name, actually, and try to do it. But is it worth it for him to drop 60 grand, 200 total to get it? Just go buy the big guy and Feed Me More. Feed Me More, make you enough money.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. He's got his own supplement line, too. It's
great
weird.
podcast, got his own stuff. Just let it go. I mean, the big guy you can create with, and or something different.
I'm not sure. So Dave Meltzer revealed on Wrestling Observer Radio that Shane does not currently have a role in WWE.
No job.
He was working backstage at the Royal Rumble and helped put the men's Royal Rumble match together, but does not have a regular role. Shane McMahon has not been seen on TV since losing the Loser Leaves Town match to Kevin Owens in October. So at this time, Shane McMahon is a man without a home.
He needs one job. Valet to someone, valet to Charlotte, valet to the man, something that he can do just to be an advocate, talk shit, and get himself over. I think, NXT's got this nice new manager. Check him out. He's actually very interesting, very entertaining, bringing back the manager role there. His name escapes me at the moment, but I like it. I like the fact that, hey, I think he's a former wrestler, and he's now managing a woman. So I like the fact that, hey, bring back the managers. That's something else AEW and WWE can continue. Arn Anderson now is representing Cody. You need more of the personality, like a Mr. Fuji or someone that, or Slick, Slick Rick. You got to need more of those personalities that will handle business.
Real quick before we get out of here, too. There's some conflicting reports on Samoa Joe, whether or not he violated a wellness policy.
Oh, Samoa Joe, you can't. It's been a terrible run.
At this time right now, does not look like he violated a wellness policy. He is dealing with that concussion that he suffered a week ago, and that's why he wasn't at Raw this week, because he wasn't medically cleared. We're going to wait and see on whether or not he is involved in these wellness policy
one of those wrestlers where they just
suspensions.
Can't move forward.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. They can't put a title on him. There's no way they can put a real title on him because of the fact that he's always hurt, always unavailable.
Yep.
What are you going to do? Great podcast, sir. Man, always enjoy the opportunity to talk wrestling with you. If you're a fan of professional wrestling, and if you've agreed or disagreed with anything that we said on this week's broadcast, head on over to the Flick Chat application. All you got to do is go to your favorite app store, Google Play, or the Apple Store, download Flick Chat, and within moments, you can join Detroit Sports' newest headquarters. You can chat professional wrestling, talk about all the shows, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and it's a great, easy place to talk about Detroit sports as well. Flick Chat, a great sponsor of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Head on over to our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. Follow Adam on Twitter as well, at AdamRSTROZ. Thanks again for everybody downloading this special edition of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. Can't wait to watch another great week of wrestling. See everybody next week. Now coming down, John Macaroon.
Oh my